Intelligence Committee calling for contempt charges against FBI Director Christopher Wray and Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. The lawmaker is still not satisfied after finally getting a look at a partially redacted document that launched the Russian probe. All this as Rosenstein met with the president yesterday amid growing speculation about his future. What will happen? Joining us now is Congressman Doug Collins. He's on the Judiciary Committee. Congressman, welcome. First of all, let's start with the Rosenstein matter. Do you think the president will fire him?
No, I don't think so. I think what we got to do, though, is we got to find out a Department of Justice that either wants to turn over documents that they're required to turn over to Congress for oversight, or do they want to become really a modern art facility in which they redact and make things look like shapes instead of memos? I think that's the question we're going to have to ask them. Do they want to do their job, or do they want to make an art class?
Why are they stymieing you?
That you'd have to ask them, and I think that's the question. It goes back, though, to not just Rosenstein. We go back to Comey, who now is out portraying himself as something of a truth teller. You know, this is something we've had to deal with in this Department of Justice now for a little while, so I think we just need to get to truth. They need to turn over the documents and move on.
You know, there's some of that material's grand jury material. They say if you get it, it'll be largely redacted. Do you think, in fact, you could ever get the truth from these documents, or are they trying to hide something?
Well, I think that would be for them to decide if they're trying to hide something. I would hope that they're not trying to hide something. This is Congress. This is transparency. This is something that can be dealt with in a classified setting that needs to be classified setting. They don't have to hide behind their classified setting. Now, they may want to hide behind bad work, but that's something that they're going to have to deal with as well.
Do you think there, as you say, there was bad work?
It's a good question at this point. I mean, they're not turning over the issues, and we're, when you get to the point where a congressional committee has to threaten contempt to actually get cooperation, that is what the American people don't understand. They do not understand how people who work for the American people are not cooperating with America's representatives.
And what do you want to know? I mean, specifically when it deals with the dossier, what is your major concern?
Our concerns is what we've seen so far, and that's coming further into how they were going about it, what were they using, whether it was FISA being used properly, was the court's proper system being used improperly, and just making sure that the oversight that we're required to do can be done. We have seen the Department of Justice, especially under Comey when he was there, not be derelict in their duty. We've seen this come out in the Clinton investigation. We've seen it come out. We've seen it now in his attack on the president. I just want to say something, and I heard it earlier on the show where they was talking about in his book where he says when they didn't ask about what would the Russians do next. Well, Mr. Comey, I have a question for you. Where's real leadership? Where's real courage? When you was in the room, you should have said, Mr. President, your team, you need to understand this may be where we need to go next with Russia, instead of quietly sitting there getting ready to write your book later because you were fawning over a previous president.
It's easy from Comey's point of view to say what Mr. Trump said or did not say. But what about Comey's responsibility being, at the FBI and trying to protect this country in the first place?
Isn't it great that you can go from an argument of silence where you don't have to say what you did or didn't say and not give a justification why you didn't stand up and be a leader? Look, I questioned Mr. Comey almost 2 years ago in telling him to the basic fact that Ms. Clinton pulled the wool over their eyes. He got real mad at me in that committee hearing. Undoubtedly now he's just trying to go back and repaint history. He's a wonderful chameleon. Maybe he'll change spots again tomorrow. Maybe on a different show he'll be a different color. We'll see what he says tomorrow.
Yeah, and by the way, he also writes a lot about that Clinton decision in his book, expressing some regret.
Well, he should. If you look back on it now, I don't think you talk about somebody who wanted to have integrity, and now he's developing a penance for actually not doing that. It's already clear in the book. I think one passage for me became very clear, and that was where he fawned over the previous president on how intelligent he was and how smart he was and how he wants to attack this president. That shows me the bias in this issue right here. Mr. Comey wants to write a book, make $1 million, that's fine. But Mr. Comey, history will judge you, not your words on a piece of paper.
Congressman Doug Collins from Statuary Hall, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, it's good to be with you.
Of course. Julie?
A crazy car chase in California as a man refuses to pull over for the police. What it took to finally get the guy in handcuffs. Plus, excerpts from the new James Comey book and one big headline, his defense of the Hillary Clinton email investigation. Our political panel is on deck.
I think it's sad. I think it's sad. The writing of the book in general, and then some of the things that he's talking about are just frankly beneath the dignity of some really important offices he once held.